Thank you. So if you add more profile.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share a bit of my life. As a mother of a child who has cerebral palsy, my daughter is 8 years old. I have a project, a non-governmental, which is called the Special Mothers Project, that has a bit of advocacy. My other name is Advocacy, that's why I added it here. So the outline of my presentation, I'll just give a bit of introduction about what the Special Mothers Project does. I'll share a bit of my experience as a caregiver, and then I'll talk about seeking a caregiver, whether seeking for a caregiver as a mother, and I'll talk about home-based care. I'll talk about respite services, and then I'll give some recommendations which I hope that we can work on. So the next slide, please. The Special Mothers Project is a support, that is how it started. It started as a support group. And then when we got a lot of people coming in, I realized that issues, my daughter has cerebral palsy, so I'll be mentioning cerebral palsy, but it reflects on all other disabilities. I realized that issues about cerebral palsy was not talked about at all in Ghana. We hear a lot of autism, but we used not to hear anything cerebral palsy at all. I work as a media person. So by virtue of the fact that I was in the media, I thought it was an opportunity for me to start talking about my life and the life of others, and start talking about the need for policy to be formulated for these children. So the other thing the Special Mothers Project does is that we do a lot of empowerment training for mothers. We do a lot of empowerment training for mothers and for caregivers. I mean, people who come to our homes to work with us. Because I write, I have a book called The Unexpected that documents my experience with my daughter. I wrote that book in 2016, just to let people have access to my experience. And because we are talking about caregiving, I want to say that caregiving is a very important element in nurturing a child with disability or cerebral palsy. Unfortunately, in Ghana, most of it is done by the mother. I don't know the specific institutions you come in, but if I may ask, how many of you have a child who has cerebral palsy within your institutions and the child is not walking or talking? Does any home here? Please, which institution is that? West African Best Ministry. Where are you located? Advocacy. I like to know these things because I have a large parents of problems. When people want a place to take their children, it's like the biggest challenge we have as parents. And sometimes you don't even know. So it's good that I'm knowing. Your institution has. So caregiving impacts on us as primary caregivers greatly. It impacts on your mental health. The doctor just talked about mental health. If you are not careful as a parent, you won't be balanced again if you have a child like that. And for me, it was my first child. So you can imagine the impact it had on me as a person. I mean, it threw me off balance. I was someone who is very meticulous in terms of planning. And I am not the ordinary who just did that. I planned for the child. So I had plans, schools that I wanted to attend and what I wanted her to do and all of that. And like she said, hers wasn't in the womb or something. When I gave birth to her, she had jaundice on the 3rd day, neonatal jaundice. We had very little information about neonatal jaundice at the time. So when I went to the hospital, 2 weeks postnatal, it was too late. They said the bilirubin has already gone to her brain and has caused injury, and that was it. Please, the next slide. So, for my daughter, for instance, what I do with her in the morning, when she was very young, I remember her sleeping, just getting her to sleep. was a very difficult thing. So because of that, even now when she sleeps, I don't wake her up. And I work. So in the morning, her usual wake up time is 8 a.m. I will have to wait for her to wake up because I feel that sleeping helps her to relax her during the day. When she's up, she's always jittery or shaking or something. She gets very tired. So when she sleeps, I don't wake her up. So she wakes up at 8. And depending on her mood, I'll either bath her or feed her. Most of the time, I prefer to feed her first because the feeding can take about 45 minutes minimum. And by the time I finish feeding, her whole body, that is if I'm back there already, her whole body is already done with the cereal or whatever. I have to go and wash her again. So usually I want to feed her before I bath her. And then when you after bathing her, brushing her teeth, she has cerebral palsy. Opening her mouth is a problem, so her teeth are always clenched. Getting the brush in there and trying to wash the paste is something else. It also takes us some minutes. Dressing her, wearing her shoes, her feet are curled some way. You know, cerebral palsy affects movement. So how she has made her feet, you can't get her to get it straight easily to get it into the shoes. That alone takes a lot of time. And when she is home, on days that she is home, you work with her all day because my daughter, I've been able to toilet train her. I didn't want her in diapers all the time. So in the house, I've put a potty at the place that she can crawl to. Luckily, she crawls now. So she crawls to her potty. But whatever I'm doing, when you hear her near the potty, you have to get up wherever you are and put her on it because she can't sit on the potty by herself. When she wants to movie, you do that. When she wants to poo, you do that. So when she's home, it's a whole day's job. She may be playing. Luckily for me, well, I trained her like a regular child, so she plays and watches TV and everything. But you still need to have your eyes on her. But the search for a secondary caregiver is a very difficult thing in Ghana. The search for someone who will come and look is a very, very difficult thing. So we have the next slide. We have either the nannies or whatever coming in. Those don't fit for me and with my experience. Nanny agencies or going to get someone from my hometown, it doesn't fit for me. People have all kinds of superstitions about the child. And when you are, and I have worked so hard to get her to a point where she is now. So one of my biggest fears is leaving her in the hands of someone who will do something to spoil everything. So searching for a caregiver is very, very difficult. When you get organizations, once in a while you get organizations that say, oh, we train nurses to take care of children, or they are very expensive. I once talked to one such agency that said, oh, they were taking 1,500 cedis a month. And this person wasn't even coming to stay. It's a leave out, so the person will come and go. It's not something an average income earner in Ghana can afford. You have to reach. So like I mentioned, the use of nanny agencies and family health and those things, it comes with a lot of challenges. I mean, it complicates your life as a caregiver. And I try to be corrected. I've just seen but usually there are no residential care for children with cerebral palsy or other rare diseases. And also, disability is not homogeneous. So when you talk about, oh, I want to send my child to school, people are quick, oh, take her to Jolu, take her to this. My daughter doesn't fit into Jolu special school. She doesn't fit into Jolu special school because she has her intellect intact. So what I mean by intellect intact is that she's able to follow things. She follows instructions. She understands everything you tell her. She's self-aware. She knows what goes on around her. She's not mentally retarded. Her problem is that she has movement challenges and her speech It's not something you can easily grasp. So if I take my child to the special school where there are a lot of children with Down syndrome or autism, what I'm doing is that I'm just trying to let her retrogress in terms of her development. And I realized that for her, being with regular children works because she's my first child. So after her, I had two others. When my son, the one after her immediately, was walking, my daughter was at that time just sitting by herself. She had just started sitting. And then one day I realized that my son picked something that she was playing with and was running away. I was just sitting down watching. I saw my daughter trying to crawl after my son. I realized that she wants to do everything that the other children are doing in the house, even though she feels limited. Right now in the house, when she wants to go to the bathroom, she just crawls and go. There are times I'll be in the room and I'll hear the iron from the table fall down. It is my daughter Aaron who has gone to her room, pick her dress, and is trying to iron it because she sees us do it. So she's intelligent, but getting her to sit with other regular children in Ghana is a very difficult thing. And I'm not saying this out of just mere hypothesis. My daughter she's just 8 years old now, but I've changed about 7 or 8 schools from the time she was young till now. And even for where she is, I live around Boyibi. She goes to school at Medina. And it's because that school is a government school which was being piloted by UNICEF as an inclusive center. And even getting her into that school was a struggle. I had to use my media connections to get her there. So having a more complex or severe moderate disability is more difficult to find if we can't even get schools. Finding home-based care. We don't get that. In recent times, I think when the schools just reopened or something, I was looking for, usually I'll take her to school. I work from home most of the time. So I'll take her to school, park my car on her school compound, and sit in the car to work till it's time, then I take her back to the house. So I was looking for someone who will come in and do that. I tried agencies, they took my money, but agency fee, registering alone is whatever. The people will come, they'll look at the child and they will say, oh, I can't do it. Meanwhile, I keep saying that there are Ghanaians, educated Ghanaians in degrees and master programs who travel out, and the job they do is caregiving. And they see it as prestigious, but it's not here. I've had so many experiences, practical experiences of trying to find a caregiver at home that doesn't work. And in the same situation, trying to get a child into school, the schools will say, no, we don't accept this child. So what do you do as a parent? I keep telling people that the last decision I wanted to take was to decide that, because I have this child, I'm going to stay home. I didn't want to be a stay-home mom. I wanted to pursue my career. I've just done my master's and everything because I wanted to do it. And it should be possible for parents to have their life. Whether you have we make it a punishment. We make it a curse for the family. So let me talk about respite. Respite is having a little time for yourself, like me being here without my daughter. Usually I'll carry her to anywhere. I've carried her to the highest point of meetings before. And I don't care, I'll feed her in the meeting room or whatever. I'll do that. I take her everywhere. In my office, days that I don't have anybody, I carry her to the office and she sits beside me. And when I have to feed her, I'll break and do what I have to do and continue. But many mothers may not be able to do that. But I keep saying that an opportunity for me to go to work alone is respite for me. The time that I'm away, like every other parent takes their child to the crèche or the school to be able to have your own life. That is something that I, as a special needs mom, crave. But we don't have the facility. It's luxury to do that, to be able to go to work or to be able to do anything, being there without pain. But respite is like a very, very important thing for us as families caring for children. The reason that these children are abused and hit and whatever, killed, we have to face the fact they kill them, is because they get tired to a point where they don't know what to do again. So when people say that, oh, a mother killed their disabled child, it doesn't do anything to me. I keep telling people that it is society. A society that hasn't made any room after how many years of independence. We haven't made any room for a child. We don't think that someone will have a child and the child may be different, and therefore we need to plan for a child like that. It is our society that makes these children get killed like that. It is not the families. They can't handle it alone. Even within our tree parents, they say corona or something like that. And that is even a child who is regular. So when you have a child with disability, it should be the whole world helping you to train that child and not you. But we have the opposite. It is you and you alone trying to help a child. And respite facilitates improved mental health and well-being. And it promotes a sense of well-being. I am able to be what I am now and what I do now because I had to prioritize my own mental health first. In Ghana, and I keep saying, when you have a child like this, the hospital appointment alone will break you down. And people are very quick to judge. When I had my daughter, they will say, oh, take her to neuro, do MRI, do this, go and do that. I'll tell the doctors in their face, I'm not going to do all these things. I won't waste my money because nothing will change, so I'll be home. Even physiotherapy, I learned from UT. Because my daughter, when she was only 1 year old, I was pregnant with the second one. So I wasn't going to stress myself with what someone said. I kept telling people that I love my daughter more than anybody else. But I'll do what makes me as a mother sound and healthy first to be able to take care of the child. So how I get respite for myself, taking her to school. And now I even say that I'm lucky to have her in school because my daughter is not walking. She can't walk by herself. Someone has to carry her. She can't feed herself. But I always say that where there's a way, there's a will. We have in a country where there's a policy called the inclusive education policy. And yet, a school can look you in the face and say, so I ask myself, so which one? Because I want to have a life as a parent. So I keep saying that I'm even lucky because in my parents' support group, 90% of them do not have their children in school. I know mothers who were lecturers, who were whatever, who have had to stay home because they don't have anybody to take care of them. And having someone to care for her so that I can have a me time is something I do to get respite to myself. I'm lucky my husband is supportive. It's not all the men that run away. So most of the time, if I have to go somewhere, if I need some rest, my husband takes care. He does everything I can do for the child. Bath him, bath her, feed her, everything. He does everything that I can do. So sometimes when he's around, I just rest. Here's the next slide. So I always talk with recommendations that maybe it's time we create a pool of trained caregivers fit for the purpose so that parents can tap into it. What I mean to say is that we are developing as a country, and the areas of where people come from your village to stay with you is growing. Now, even with the free SHS, all the children are going to school. So no one wants their child to come and stay with you and go and learn dressmaking. Another mentality that we need to work on. But I keep saying that caregiving is a profession. I see it as a noble profession. It's a profession that impacts directly on the life of a child with disability, and not just on the life of the child with disability, but on their families as well. So having such trained caregivers who understand what disability is and are ready to work with homes or leave out or whatever will be a source of employment for the youth. And then that is where government comes in. The caregivers deserves to be paid. But look at the families where the mother is not working and the father has abandoned the child, or even if both of them are working, maybe their incomes, how will they get, like the caregiver who was going to charge you 1,500? How will they be able to sustain that if they have other children? So that is where government should subsidize the hiring of professional caregivers. I know that University of Education, for instance, trains community-based rehabilitation graduates and all those things. Is there a way that the Department of Social Welfare, government, Ministry of Local Government, or whoever is involved can collaborate to get these professionals who graduate from school and work in the bank to do their right things? Work with homes, families, so that families can get such support. So, next one, please. I keep saying that every day is a learning experience when you have a child, you nurture or care for a child with disability. And all you need to do is to open your mind to a world of possibilities. People ask you when you have a child who is not walking or talking or whatever, oh, so Obama that's for better. I keep telling people that the future of anybody, whether you walk now or not, is in the hands of God. So you can't look at someone by virtue of how they are or their disability and say that we're on the show. It is something we need to take it out of our minds. So we need to know and believe that every child is educable and have great potentials. And we help them so that we can help them and nurture them for their potential. Thank you. That's my daughter.
So please, any questions?